Alrighty. So first of all, for those of you wondering why I haven't uploaded on my channel for the past couple of days, well, it's because I've been dealing with a sore throat. In fact, it's been gone bad enough that these last couple of days I basically had a tough time in terms of just talking throughout the video. And don't be surprised that by near the end of this video, or maybe even halfway through this video, that I might sound like a bit of a robot because again, I'm still trying to recover. My throat's gonna take a couple more days, but I think I have enough energy, at least in my throat, to at least do the review of the Sunday game. I'm gonna go backwards in terms of the review of these weekends. Actually, I'm gonna do the Sunday game first, and then I'm gonna have that 9 game review, and hope that my throat will be enough for that. Because yeah, doing a 9 game review compared to a 5 game review is a complete different thing. That review is gonna be twice as long as this one. But with that being said, one thing that was definitely a big storyline coming out of this weekend action, a lot of upset. A lot of top teams in the standings did not do well whatsoever this week. A lot of these top teams lose game as well, including the top three, I believe, in the Eastern Conference, although one of them didn't actually play this week because one of the game got postponed to another day, and that's the NYCFC versus Columbus game. But yeah, a lot of top team had their struggles this week, not able to get all 3 points, and I think maybe that play a lot to do with just some teams. They've played a lot of games, especially coming out of the Leeds Cup, and when you face against teams that haven't played in the Leeds Cup and had a big amount of rest, that is a huge advantage compared to teams that are clearly very tired from playing from the Leeds Cup. Now jump straight into MLS play after just 3 days after the final Leeds Cup game is over. But with that being said, let us begin by talking about the first game. And the first game we'll talk about is the Red Bulls and RSL. So this was a very weird game. I mean, this was probably the wackiest game I have seen in quite some while. Especially we'll talk about some controversy that happened because, of course, there are definitely some controversy. I mean, after watching the Leeds Cup and how bad the refereeing is, people forget that yeah, and MLS Pro is also pretty bad when it comes to some of the decision that made. And yeah, there was some very weird decision, and especially this one incident is something that I don't think I've ever seen this happen, or at least I haven't seen this happen in MLS in a very long time. Now, in the first half, just 3 minutes into the game, RSL take the lead. It's Gozo. He scored from Agata and Luna to give RSL a 1-0 lead. It was the game first shot as well, and the backup netminder Marcucci. Not quite sure what happened to Cornell. I think he's still injured right now with the Red Bulls, but yeah, Marcucci, this is definitely one he does not want to look back. I mean, this is one that was kind of hit straight to him, and Marcucci, he's got to do much better in terms of that. She absolutely should have kept this one out, but nevertheless, RSL wouldn't care. They were up 1-0 up to this point. So let me give myself a water here because for this video, I need to drink some water to make sure my throat doesn't go crazy. But anyway, besides that moment, not much really happened. At least in the first 18 minutes of this game, Edelman would put one to Trenton on the volley before Gozo would hit it right to Makuchi. Frostberg would then hit it right to Cabral, and then Duncorp would puts it high from long range. As I thought the Red Bulls started to get some good chances, and now we're looking for the equalizer. Frostberg would then puts one wide after Duncan almost had a rare bicycle kick. Now I'm not quite sure was he meant to do a bicycle kick assist. I think that was more of a shot. I think he just kind of completely missed hits it. But man, that would have been a first or something that we haven't seen in quite some while ago. I mean, we've seen a lot of bicycle kick go. I don't think I've ever seen a bicycle kick assist. That would have been a cool thing to see, but obviously it didn't happen because Forsberg couldn't put his shot on target, but we do head to halftime with the road team leading 1-0 against the Red Bulls. Now, in the second half, Sofa would hit it right to Cabral before Duncorp puts it right to Cabral, as once again, the Red Bulls kind of picked up where they left off. They were looking to try to get the equalizer, and they do in the 52nd minute as Choupo-Moting, he scored from Frostberg and Edwards to tie the game up at one apiece. You kind of sense that was going to be the case. I mean, RSL, besides that one chance that they had in the beginning of the game, they rarely had a lot of chances in this one either. Frostberg then looked for the lead, but he hits the side netting. The momentum was definitely with the Red Bulls up to this point as they were trying to take the lead. Chupamoti would then puts it wide from close before Kalaskan would heads it wide from close in the 71st minute. But then in the 80th minute, a penalty was given to the Red Bulls as Brian Vera brought down Choupo-Moting in the box. So here comes Choupo-Moting, a chance to give the lead for the Red Bulls. I'm kind of surprised Forsberg is not taking this penalty, though. I have seen Choupo-Moting being the main penalty kick taker, and yeah, he tried to be a little bit cheeky here with the Panenka. And you know the old saying, when you try the Panenka, if it works, it's absolutely cheeky. When it doesn't work, yeah, you're gonna have egg in your face. And Choupo-Moting definitely had egg in his face in this moment because he tried to do the Panenka here, and Cabral was not fooled. He just stood on his line. It was an easy catch there. It's been quite a while since I've seen a player try the Panenka and get it all absolutely wrong, but this is one of those sequences where the goalkeeper was not fooled whatsoever by that Panenka, and just like that, the game remains at 1-1. And this is when things get even more wacky because if you thought we've seen some wacky things again, we almost saw a bicycle kick assist, we saw a Panenka that fell in this one. Well, this gets even more wacky because Diego Luna would get himself a second yellow card in this one. Now, I'll talk about well how he got that second yellow in just a bit because this plays in terms of the wackiness that we saw in this one. Goma would then puts it wide from close in the 87th minute, but then they go back to see whether or not in that Duncan and Luna exchange, whether or not if it was actually Duncan the one that initiated that exchange, because originally it looked like Luna was the one that initiated the contact as well, and Luna obviously was already on a yellow card, and when you do that, obviously that's going to be a second yellow. But they kind of want to look back the replay to see whether or not if Duncan actually initiated that, he was kind of the instigator in that moment, and he was. I mean, he basically did a horse collar tackle there on Luna. To be fair, Luna actually didn't do anything wrong. He was just trying to get Duncan's hand off of his horse collar tackle there, and yeah, when you do a horse collar tackle, I mean, you know, in the NFL, that's a 15-yard penalty in soccer, yeah, that is a violent conduct. So yeah, Luna, of course, well, Luna of course was sent off because of the second yellow, but Duncan was also sent off in that same sequence. So yeah, that is probably one of the first times that I've seen that happen before. And obviously, for people wondering, well, why couldn't they just go back and reinsent Luna second yellow card and maybe just reinsent that yellow card? Well, the problem is that that second yellow card was already given, and obviously you cannot go to VAR and look for second yellow cards. Second yellow cards are not reviewable by VAR or at least just yet. Yet, so yeah, I mean that's kind of the unfortunate situation that has happened. Obviously, Luna probably is gonna get that second yellow card and that red card reset did because again, I don't think he did anything wrong with that. But in the case of RSL, at least they kind of got a little justice. The fact that yeah, they were that it's even strength instead of them going down to 10 men, but at the same time they'll be probably very frustrated at the fact that the guy that got sent off in this one is literally their best player in this game. So in the third minute stoppage time, they had a chance to win it late. Sam Junko would struck the post on the header, but then late in the game, another penalty was given to the Red Bulls. This time it was Galat brought down Choupo-Moting in the box. Now they did go to VAR once again to see whether or not if Choupo-Moting handballs it. I know this has got to a point where I'm like, what is going on with this game? Like this game has just gone to a whole level of wackiness, and they of course want to make sure that Choupo-Moting didn't handball this one before Glad did bring down Choupo-Moting in the box. VAR says nope. So yeah, the penalty, of course. Then I think it was the correct call. I didn't think there was definitive evidence that you can say that Choupo-Moting handballed this one. So yeah, here comes Choupo-Moting again, a chance to redeem himself from the penalty, and this time he did the right thing. He just absolutely smashed this one. Didn't try to do any fancy trick, and he buries that penalty to give the lead for the Red Bulls, and that lead holds up as they win 2-1 in this one. A come from behind resort. Shots in this one, 24 shots for the 7 the RSL had, 3 shots on goal for the 7 that the Red Bulls had, 7 shots off target for the 1 the RSL had, 1 shot that was blocked for the 7 that the Red Bulls had, and possession wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession the RSL has in this game. And besides all the wackiness that we saw in this game, I think in the end the Red Bulls deserved to win this one. I mean, RSL, they were trying to hold on to the lead for as much as possible. So it's so much pressure in this game. And ultimately, when you do that as a road team, yeah, it doesn't usually work out very well for you, at least for the most part. Because as we'll talk about in the next two games, it actually did work out pretty well for the road team. And we start off with the next game, which is Minnesota versus the Colorado Rapids. And I got to say, this is one of the first time I think this season where Minnesota lost a game because the opponent basically played their own games and beat them with their own games. It was the Rapids, the one that were doing the Minnesota tactics of sitting back and not really really want to have the ball, and they also were looking dangerous on the transition. In fact, both of the goals that they scored in this game was all because of transitional moment. That's something that is supposed to be Minnesota specialty, at least throughout the season. Now, in the first half, Colorado definitely was shopping in a compact shell, and again, this is something that I'm starting to see a lot. When teams playing against the Loons, where they're going to force Minnesota to have most of the ball. They know Minnesota does not want to have the ball, and they also know that when Minnesota has the ball, more times than not, they're not able to break teams down or score goals against their opposition. In the fourth minute, Navarro with the game first shot, but he hits it right to Dane Sinclair before Pereira would puts it wide from long range before he had a shot that was deflected wide in the 16 minutes. The Loons were definitely creating some good half chances and were pressing for the opener. Stefan would then deny Pereira from long range before Oluwaseyi would hit it right to Stefan in the 24th minute. The shots were 5-1 for Minnesota. So up to this point, Minnesota had a lot of chances in this one, and that would be the theme in this game as well. But how many times I've said before, I've seen this story before where the Loons have a lot of chances but not able to bury it. Longwane would then hit it right to Stefan before Minnesota continue to get the chances. But the question is, can they show that clinical finishing, which was a problem in the last game as well? Spoiler alert, they wouldn't show their clinical finishing. But in the 32nd minute, Yeboah would then hit it right to Stefan before Vines with a rare chance for the Rapids, but he deflect that one high. And we do head to halftime, scoreless between the Loons and the Rapids, even though Minnesota had a lot of chances in this one. Now, in the second half, the Rapids definitely started to become a little bit more aggressive on the attack. And in many ways, the Rapids really played a perfect road game in this one against Minnesota. Navarro would hit it high from close before Vines would miss an empty net in the back post. Yeah, that is one that same Vines definitely want to have back because that is one that when you that open in the back post like that, you have to bury that chances. But there was no. Now that the Rapids have started well, I thought the Loons defense have not showed up in the second half. I mean, there was definitely cracks that was shown, and it's one thing to also note is that Minnesota they have not had a clean sheet in a very long time. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen the Loons get a shutout, and that is kind of concerning because this is supposed to be one of the better defense in the league. But lately, yeah, that defense, well, for the most part, at times has been solid. They have gave up a lot of goals, and some of these goals that they gave up are just defensive sort of breakdowns that has happened more than I've seen in the beginning of the season. Yoboa would then heads it high from close in the 54th minute before Stefan denying Yoboa on the header. Navarro then had a shot that was crucially blocked by Trap. By the way, that all started because of a transitional moment. That would be a theme in this game where the Rapids were so good on the transition in this one. But the game really started to open up as both of these teams were pressing for the opener, and the Rapids would get that in the 60th minute. And Darren Yappy would score from Vines to make it 1-0 in favor of the Rapids. And again, that all came because of a transitional moment. And I mean wrote, yep, it seems like they gave Minnesota a little taste of their own medicine in terms of scoring from the counter. Oluwaseyi did look to answer, but he hits it right to Stefan with an unorthodox backward header, and then he hits it right to Stefan again in the 65th minute. I mean, wrote, yep, it's this one of those games again at Allianz where the Loons just cannot buy a goal. I've seen this so many times over the year, and it's sad to say that it feels like in the year 2025, I'm still seeing it again, and I'm just thinking, yeah, Minnesota's not going to win this game because in the 70th minute, that mount was even tougher because Yappy would score again. This time he scored from Navarro and Harris to make it 2-0 in favor of the Rapids. It come off of another lightning counterattack. I think the reason why Minnesota was really struggling on the transition, they were committing way too many man forward. And that can happen when the teams are starting to get very frustrated in terms of not putting the ball into the back of the net. They start to overcommit, and when you overcommit like that, yeah, obviously when teams are going to hit you on the transition, that's when things can start to fall apart. And I think there was multiple time where the Loons overcommit on the attack for a little bit too many men forward on the attack, and next thing you know, the Rapids go on the other way, and there's just so many gaping being space for them to operate. Again, something that Minnesota do this a lot this season and have been relatively successful. And it's quite crazy to see now it's the other team that is doing the same thing now. Larraz would then hits it right to Dane Sinclair, but then in the 74th minute, Minnesota finally got on the board as Tani Oluwaseyi would score from Rosales to make it 2-1 in favor of Minnesota. Trapp would then had a shot that was deflected and goes wide before Stefan would deny Yoboa from close in the 77th minute. The momentum was definitely with Minnesota up to this point. But again, can they put the ball into the back of net? Can they show that clinical finishing, which was pretty woeful throughout this game? And in the 80th minute, yeah, this moment just kind of sums up the game for the Loons. Tani was in on goal there, but he blasts one into the wonder wall before Pereira had a shot that was deflected and goes wide. And I also kind of felt like it was all hands on deck for the Rapids. I know the Loons were not being clinical in terms of their finishing and from the kitchen sink, but you just kind of have a sense that yeah, the Rapids are on a tightrope right now. If they don't stay disciplined, they might give up a late goal, as we see before when teams trying to bunker late in the game and trying to hold on. But in the 88th minute, Dane Sinclair would deny Max Sue from close before Stefan would deny Harvey on a knuckler shot. That that shot definitely had some spin on it, and Stefan he actually does a good job in terms of just kind of knocking that one down because when you have a knuckler shot like that, that could always be problematic for goalkeeper. But yeah, in the end, the Colorado Rapids they went on the road, and keep in mind this is the first game that they did not have Georgi Mihailovic, and it's safe to say that yeah, it seems like no Mihailovic no problem for Rapids. The shots in this one 22 shots compared to 12 that the Rapids had. 5 shots on goal compared to 10 that Minnesota has. Both teams had 3 shots off target. 8 shots that was blocked compared to 4 that Colorado has. And possession-wise, 42% possession compared to 58% possession that Minnesota has in this game. So despite the fact that Minnesota pretty much dominate all the category in terms of the stats. We see this before where sometimes when you're not the more clinical team and the other team is the more clinical side, yeah, that's kind of the reason why you're in a losing end. And the frustrating thing about Minnesota is the fact that I didn't think they play a bad game in this one, and they definitely play much better in this one compared to Atletico San Luis, especially with the urgency throughout this game. They definitely show that urgency in terms of creating chances, but it's just once again the same issue we've seen before with this team where when it comes to the finishing product I've seen it so many times with this team not able to be shown their finishing touch, and in this game it happened again, and it's been happening 2 games in a row as well to a point where you just wonder that is this going to happen again where I'm see this story before where they go through a bit of a spell where the goals are not falling and the frustration it started happening. In fact, the team you can clearly see the team was so frustrated to a point where they actually had a team only meeting after this game is over. So hopefully maybe that will reset the mindset of this team because yeah, this team is heading the wrong direction as we head into the crucial stretch of the season. It also doesn't get any easier as well because in the next game they play against the Seattle Sounders, who, as I'll talk about in just a bit, they are absolutely rolling right now. But for the Colorado Rapids, again, big win for them. But now the question is, can they keep doing this? Because this has been the problem with the Rapids this season. This has been a very unpredictable team. And I think they're going to still be a very unpredictable team. I've seen before where the Rapids can put these kind of performance, and then the very next game they could do a 180 and just look like a team that has no interest of making the playoffs. And that's kind of what frustrates Rapids fans besides the Georgi Mihailovic selling. I'm pretty sure that really pissed off a lot Rapids fans when you sell your best player on the cusp of a playoff push that they're dealing with right now. But this team kind of show you that at least when the good Rapids shows up, they of course win games. Now the question is, can they have that good Rapids side for the remaining of the season, or at least have it as much where they can still be enough to make it to the playoffs? Because if not, if they can continue to show that inconsistent form. I don't know. It's going to be very close for them to make it into the playoffs. Now, moving on in terms of the next match is Charlotte and Cincinnati. And I gotta say, for Charlotte FC, remember a couple of months ago when everything was just falling out and the sky was kind of falling, and the fact that this team was on an absolute free fall, and to a point where yeah, there was major question of how in the world did Charlotte go for that much of a free fall, and the fact that the fact that is there going to be any way that they can recover from the free fall that they had in the middle of the summer. Safe to say that I think they have recovered from the free fall because these last couple of games this is more looking like the Dean Smith side that we seen in the beginning of the season, and a team that it's hard to believe at one point they were at the top of the Eastern Conference. Though, I would say that this was a game where the red cards changed everything. Cincinnati absolutely dominated this game, but they kind of had a Minnesota problem in this one. They just couldn't put the ball into the back of net. And how many times when you decided to leave your opponent in the game, especially keep this one at 0-0 for so long, and you don't put your chances away, yeah, bad things can always happen. And like I said, the red card absolutely changed everything in this game. Now, in the first half, not much happened, at least in the first 15 minutes. There were no shots in the first 15 minutes. Yedlin with the game's first shot, but he heads it wide before Kalina denied Evander from free kick. I gotta say, Christian Kalina, he went back to his goalkeeper of the year form in this one. He was an absolute menace in this one, and was just an absolute wall in this one in front of goal. Cincinnati definitely woke up. They were pressing for the opener. Orellano would then puts it just one from long range before Cincinnati continued to be patient with the ball. But the question is, can they break down this Charlotte low block? I mean, this Charlotte team, it just feels like they were just kind of getting pinned deep. They were just stuck in their own half. They couldn't do anything to generate any attack. In the 40th minute, Kalina would absolutely rock Valenzuela from point blank, but it then for to Orellano, and he tried the hit one into the empty net, but Kalina somehow was in the right place to get to it. Although he didn't catch this one clean, he actually spilled this one, but it was able to get her on the second attempt. There was no doubt that Cincinnati was coming. Like they were putting some really dangerous chances, but again, can they get that opener? Again, spoiler alert, the answer is no. But in the 44th minute, Kalina would deny Orellano from the free kick before Evander would puts it just high on the free kick, and then Bronico with a rare chance for Charlotte. In fact, it's not just a rare chance for Charlotte. That actually was the first shot for Charlotte up to this point. Up to this point, I think Cincinnati was out shooting Charlotte like 10-0, and this was the first shot for Charlotte, and Bronico would miss wide in the 5th minute stoppage time. It's also important to know that at one point in this game, Bronico was literally the offense for Charlotte. I mean, he at one point he was the only guy that was actually providing the shots for Charlotte, at least on the stat chart. We do head to halftime scoreless between both of this team, despite the fact that Cincinnati absolutely dominate this one. In the second half, Anunga would hits it right to Kalina before Kalina denied execute in the near post. Cincinnati once again was pressing for the opener, but the question is, can they beat Kalina? Because it seems like Kalina went back to his 2020 form. He went back to his goalkeeper of the year form where he was just not determined to not allow a goal in this one. Evander would then puts it wide from long range before Echike would have a shot that took a wicked deflection and somehow, in some way, was denied by Kalina in the near post because it's just kind of one of those games. Kalina again. In the 61st minute, Kamara would then puts it wide from close. The shots were now 14-1 in favor of Cincinnati. So again, they were doing everything right, but problem is, scoreboard still says zero up to this point. Bronico would then hits one that was spilled by Saltano, as that was actually only the second shot for Charlotte up to this point. And by the way, Saltano was able to gather on that spillage as well. But yeah, up to this point, the shots were still 14-2 in favor of Cincinnati. But like I said, this is when the game took a 180 because, as the old saying goes, red cards can change games. And in the 70th minute, red card happened to Cincinnati as top Anunga would get himself sent off here. They go to VAR to see whether or not if Anunga foul on Diani was deemed serious foul play. It was. So yeah, Cincinnati was down to 10 men, and like I said, this is when the game took a 180. Celentano would then deny Zaha, but it falls back. Malanda who puts it high from long range, and yeah, it was now Charlotte the one that was started to get them chances and was started to press for the opener, and they do in the 88th minute as Wilfred Zaha again he had some strong words in the last game in the press conference about his teammate. And we know Wilfred Zaha is a very passionate player. This goes back to his Crystal Palace day. He is a guy that he's not afraid to call out players and hold players accountable. And yeah, he definitely backed up his strong words that he had with his teammate in the press conference by scoring what turns out to be the winning goal. As he scored from Tukamani to give Charlotte a 1-0 lead, Evander didn't look to answer, but he hits it right to Kalina as Cincinnati was pressing hard to try to get the equalizer. Galena would then deny Yedlin from the front post, but in the end, Charlotte they get the big road win in this one. And I gotta say, they have their ownage this season with Cincinnati. If there's one team that Cincinnati definitely does not want to face, and that is definitely the Crown. And it's Charlotte FC. I mean, in both of the meetings, Charlotte is able to get the better over Cincinnati. The shots in this one, 16 shots for the 8 that Charlotte has, 4 shots on goal for the 7 that Cincinnati has, 2 shots off target for the 4 that Cincinnati has, 3 shots that was blocked compared to two that Charlotte has, and possession wise, 51% possession compared to 49% possession that Charlotte has in this game. This has got to be a very frustrating game if you're Cincinnati, and especially as I'll talk about tomorrow with the way that the Union also dropped points over the weekend. This was a big opportunity for them to get themselves to the lead, the Supporter Shield standings, and unfortunately, they just did the same thing that kind of doomed Minnesota in their game, not being clinical in front of goal. If you're not being clinical in front of goal and you let your opponent in the game, and as long as the game stays 0-0 for a very long time, you just kind of have more of a sense of the road team will more have a chance to maybe get a point or even get all 3 points in this one. Because again, anything can happen even when you're dominant, and that red card, of course, happened. If the red card didn't happen, I have a feeling Cincinnati would have probably continued to put the chances and maybe eventually get the breakthrough. But yeah, the red card changed everything. And credit Charlotte, they bended a lot in this game. There was a ton of pressure in this one, but they hang in there, got the lucky break with the red card, and they took full advantage and get a massive 3 points to now that to a point where they are rising up the standing. This is a Charlotte team that if they continue the form that they're in, just like they did in the beginning of the season, that's another team that could be a threat in the Eastern Conference. I already talked about the East being an absolute bloodbath, and yeah, I feel like it's gonna be a bloodbath again heading into playoff, because you could legitimately say that when you look at the Eastern Conference and the 7 teams right now in the playoffs, you can legitimately make a case that they can definitely have a shot of representing the Eastern Conference coming into this year's MLS Cup as well. But with that being said, I am now going to just change sport kind of manually, because why not? No need to stop the video. Always do this just manually there. Just gonna clear my voice a little bit there. I think it's gotten a little bit better. Again, I do apologize if I at one point of this video sound very well. I still try to recover my voice, but anyway, heading into the next game, we have Orlando City versus Inter Miami in the Florida Derby, and yeah, so much for revenge in this game for Inter Miami. I mean, I know people will say, well, there was no Messi in this game, and we still have not seen Messi play against Orlando City at Interco Stadium, which is kind of shocking to say that he has never played against Orlando City on a road game. I mean, this time was kind of unfortunate because he got injured. I know there's that narrative of maybe he is scared of facing against Orlando in their own building. But I think even if Messi playing this one, I don't know if it would make too much different. I mean, Orlando City, they were firing on all cylinder in this game. And it was also a combination of that and this Miami defense having one of the worst game that they had this season. Now, in the first half, literally 2 minutes into this game, Orlando takes the lead as Luis Morial. Remember him? Him kind of going through a goal drought in the summer, but the last game against oh god, who they play in the last game? Necaxa. In the last game where he scored the hat trick in that one, it seems like he's definitely got his call back, because he scored here from Ojeda to give Orlando a 1-0 lead, and that was the first shot of the game as well. An absolute dream start for Orlando in this derby. Moriel then looked for another, but he hits it right to a star. He actually had a free header there as well, so that should have been 2-0 in favor of Orlando City, and that Miami defense, they were all over the place to begin. And a spoiler alert, that would be kind of the theme in this one. I mean, this Orlando City side, they were all over that Miami defense, and again, up to that point, they clearly not show up. Pretty much would be the case throughout this entire game. But in the fifth minute of the game, Miami does ties it as Yannick Bright. It's hard to believe he has not scored an MLS goal. I swear that he actually scored an MLS goal before, but apparently Jake Zivins mentioned that this is his first career MLS goal, and it was a banger as well. Just an absolute rifle off a shot there from Yannick Bright, and just like that, the game was tied up at one apiece, and I'm thinking, oh boy, this could be a good game between these two Florida side. In the 8th minute, Ojeda would hit into the side netting before passes just missed a tap in the front post. Orlando was roaring back as they were looking to try to get the lead again. Suarez would then hit it right to Galese before Moriel tried to chip Sorry, but got it all wrong in the 19th minute. Apple TV didn't even show that live, and I gotta say, Apple TV had multiple moments in this game that they had a Fox Sport moment. And I know Apple TV has definitely done a better job in terms of the production compared to Fox Sports, but my God, there's still times where it just kind of drives me nuts. Don't show the replay when there's action that has happened. Stop show the replay. If there a potential show attack that could happen, stop showing the replay and actually show the game itself. And this won't be the only time where we almost miss a goal because of Apple TV decided that, yeah, it's better we show the replay and not even think about showing the chances that Orlando was about to get. But in the 20th minute, literally 1 minute after Moriel tried to chip was sorry, he did it again in the 20th minute, and he actually was able to chip him this time, only for the post to get in the way. And I gotta say, Ustari, he must be kissing the post here because when he played this one, he played it right to Moriel, and yeah, when that happened, the goalkeeper was in no man's land, and he is very fortunate that the post got in the way, or else that's 2-1 in favor of Orlando City. After a frantic first 20 minutes, the chances did kind of start to slow down. It feels like the defense did start tightening up a bit, though. As I said, that Ustari would deny Schlegel on the header before Segovia would have a long range shot that was pushed onto the post by Galese. But we do head to halftime with the score tied up at one apiece. In the second half, the Paul would put it over from long range. It was a very quiet game for Rodrigo de Paul in this one. I thought Orlando did a good job shutting him down for the most part. And you know what? Orlando also did a good job 2 minutes later. They got the lead back, and they got a guy that definitely is in form right now, Luis Moriel. He scored from Ojeda again to make it 2-1 in favor of Orlando City. He went beast mode here, Luis Moriel, but yeah, just absolutely horrendous defending there from Miami, especially from Jordi Alba as well. A guy that has some Champions League and World Cup kind of pedigree. I was not expecting Jordi Alba to get absolutely spinned by Morial like that. I mean, the fact that Morial absolutely done Alba like that is something you just do not see every day. But nevertheless, Orlando were up 2-1. Usari then denied Ojeda, but got his own rebound there and puts this one over. It was all Orlando up to this point. They have all the momentum again, and they were looking to trying to get another one in this one, and in the 58th minute, they do get another one as Ojeda this time would score the goal from Moriel to make it 3-1 in favor of Orlando City. So that combination between Ojeda and Moriel, it was definitely there in this one, though that is one that, yeah, not a great goal whatsoever for Astari to give up. I mean, especially in the near post like that, you should not be beaten that easily in the near post, especially with the shot that Ojeda put, which wasn't really with that much power, and Ustari just couldn't keep it out. It was pretty clear that Ustari was very rusty in this one. Very surprised for him to kind of come right back into this game. I mean, I get it. He is your starting goalkeeper, but in an intense game like this, and with the way that he hasn't played in quite so long, coming off of injury, I mean, yeah, it's no surprise we saw Ustari really struggle in this one. Though he did make a save to deny Angulo from close in the 62nd minute, Orlando was just putting on a show up to this point against a Miami defense that, again, from minute one, they just did not show up whatsoever. Suarez then tried to chip the keeper, but somehow Galese was there to tip this one over, and he paid the price to that. He absolutely collided in the netting there, went down for a couple of minutes. Luckily he was okay and was able to continue. Ojeda then tried to chip the goalkeeper himself, but he missed one in the 75th minute. This is probably the most I've seen either of these teams try to chip the goalkeeper from the halfway line. It was quite crazy to see how many times I've seen players try to chip the goalkeeper in this one. The post would then deny Paslich from close in the 82nd minute before Galese would deny Pico from close range, and they didn't even show the that as well on Apple TV Live. Again, stop cutting away from the action Apple TV. I was getting absolutely infuriated. I was getting Fox Sports Live once again, where when I watch game on FS1, this was the biggest problem I have with FS1, besides the fact that they don't actually show the game live because the previous program run a little bit late. But yeah, it was just bad memories all over again of the frustration of seeing the fact that stop showing replay of the previous game. We don't really care about that. All we care is that there could be a big chance, and that I was kind of almost getting to the point where I'm thinking, yeah, we're definitely gonna miss a goal in this one live because Apple TV once again decided to cut away with the action unnecessarily. The Florida is Purple chant definitely rang out of the Orlando faithful. Yeah, it was an absolute electric atmosphere in Orlando. You just kind of had a sense how much Orlando wants this. And I gotta say, this rivalry between Orlando and Miami, a couple of years it might not be a big thing. I think it's a big thing now. And this is no disrespect to Atlanta, but right now I think when you compare it to these three southeastern team, which rivalry is more intense right now, it's gotta be Orlando and Miami right now. I mean, you can clearly see that there is definitely some dislike between both of these fan bases, and this rivalry has started to now becoming one the top rivalry in MLS as well, especially when you look at the atmosphere. One of the best atmosphere I've seen. This felt like it was a play off game and a playoff atmosphere at Inter Cole Stadium throughout this game. Suarez would then hits it right big delay save, but then the 80th minute, Pasalic would put the cherry on the top of an incredible performance by Orlando. And yeah, so he made it 4-1. Miami felt like that was offside on the development play. Flag never came up, and it stayed down throughout the game. Freeman then wants five, but he hits it right to Osari before Ojeda would hits it right to Osari. I mean, there was no mercy show by Orlando. They want five in this game. Miami just clearly they gave up to this point. Good news is it wasn't 5-1, but it was 4-1 in favor of Orlando City. It's hard to believe that in these two matchups that we've seen in the regular season, Orlando has outscored Miami 7-1 in both of these meetings. No one would have saw this coming into this season. The shots in this one, 22 shots compared to 10 that Miami has, 12 shots on goal compared to 5 that Miami has, 2 shots off target compared to 4 that Orlando City has, 3 shots on blocked compared to 2 that Miami has, and possession wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that Orlando City has in this game. And I talk about how Cincinnati doesn't want to see Charlotte in the playoff. I don't think Miami want to see Orlando in the playoffs. And again, I know people will say, well, if Messi was in this game probably would be much different. I don't think so. I mean, I think it might be much closer, but you got to remember, Orlando also won 3-0 against Inter Miami when Messi was playing. This was down in Chase Stadium as well. And I know that was back when Miami was not in the best of form, but again, there's just something about Orlando figuring out Miami this season and have their number, and especially them playing Inter Miami at Inter Cole Stadium. Miami still have not won against Orlando City in Orlando's so far. I mean, it's hard to believe that of course is the case, and that way it's going to have to continue after this performance, which is going to go down as probably one of the worst performances that Inter Miami have played this season, especially on the defensive end. Now, moving on into the last game on this board is the Galaxy and the Seattle Sounders. So people forget that this was actually a rematch of the Western Conference Final. There wasn't really too much hype build up to this because everybody was talking about the Florida Derby between Orlando and Miami. But in the rematch of the Western Conference Final of last year, yeah, it's safe to say Seattle definitely got their revenge in this one. And it's safe to say that, yeah, the Seattle Sounder, they're an absolute wagon right now. I mean, after what we saw in the Leagues Cup, when you can clearly see that they meant business now, and this even goes back before the Leagues Cup as well, where this Seattle team was all in a great form. Yeah, it feels like they're now carried after the Leagues Cup as well, and this is definitely bad news for the rest of the Western Conference because I know for a long time Seattle has always dominated the Western Conference, and now that they're starting to get going again, this is a very scary team and a team that I don't think anybody would want to face in the playoffs. I mean, maybe if you're LAFC, maybe you could say that you have a chance, especially with the recent signing of Sung Heung Min, and maybe Vancouver as well, and even San Diego would say so. But the way that Seattle is playing right now, and the way that they're absolutely destroying opponent left, right, and center, this is a team that yeah, you better not play against them in the upcoming schedule. And as I said before, it sucks to say that fortunately Minnesota is that next team that is in Seattle's way, and I wouldn't be surprised that next game where Seattle not only will probably win that one, but they probably want revenge after losing to Minnesota for only the second time in that head-to-head meeting. But in this one, in the first half, Muswowski would head it wide from close before Peck would cross it wide from long range. It was a very open game to begin, kind of very back and forth at time in this one as well. Royce would then put it over from close before Fiera missed wide from close range, as both of these teams would exchange some chances. But the question is, who can get that opener? The answer is the Seattle Sounders, as in the 25th minute, Julian Aldi would actually be ruled to score an own goal here. They originally gave this to Paul Rothrock, and I think they kind of changed this halfway through the game. I had to erase and basically change this as well, because for a long time I thought it was Rothrock the one that scored the goal there, but apparently they changed it to an own goal there. It seems like maybe they got the last touch when he was trying to slide that one away, but nevertheless. Sounders were up 1-0. Painso did look to answer, but he was denied by Thomas before De La Vega puts it right to Mikovic in the 33rd minute, and then Fierro puts it high from close range as the Sounders were putting more pressure now. They were on top again. They were looking to try to get another. As in the 37th minute, the Mooses lose again as Muswowski would score to make it 2-0. Mikovic did make a save here, but it falls right back to Muswowski. He got his rebound and puts it into the empty net. Wouldn't be the last time we would see in this game as well. Fagundes would then look to answer, but he skies this one before Rodon would have a shot that was deflected and goes wide, and we do head to halftime with Seattle leading 2-0. In the second half, Nascimento would hit it right to Thomas, but in the 54th minute, the Mooses lose again as Muswowski would score to make it 3-0, and it was pretty much almost a carbon copy of the first goal that he scored. It was a great save from Mikovic there, but Muswowski was in the right place, right time to clean up the mess. And just like that, it's 3-0 in favor of the Sounders. Rodon would then have a shot that was deflected and goes wide. Seattle kind of picked up where they left off in Leeds Cup form, and they're just an absolute wagon right now. They're firing on all cylinder up to this point. Yamar would then head it onto the roof of the net. By the way, this is when I kind of stopped really paying too much attention to this game because I knew this was over. I knew that the Sounders weren't going to blow a 3-0 lead. Yes, I know the Sounders this season at times have had trouble in terms of holding on to leads, and especially, I'm pretty sure Sounders fan, when they saw the scoreline 3-0, they might have some PTSD of what happened in the Colorado game when they blew a 3-0 lead. But at this point, I just think that there was no way that the Sounders were going to blow it, and especially with the form that the Sounders are in right now, yeah, there was no chance that the Galaxy was going to come back from this one. There was a shout for a penalty for the Galaxy not given not long after before Peck would puts it wide on the curler. Oh, did I mention Muswowski also heads it wide from the header as well in the 67th minute, if I did mention it. And then the post would deny Rothrock from close in the 75th minute. Painso would then hits it right to Thomas in the 80th minute. But then in the 84th minute, after Brunel would puts it way wide, or puts it high from long range, he would score in the 85th minute to score his first career MLS goal. So Stein Bruno now, of course, making his debut in this one, and what a moment it is for the 18-year-old. He scored from Rodon and Kosuriense to make it 4-0 in favor of the Sounders, and at the full-time whistle, yeah, there was a lot of boos inside Dignity Health Sports Park. I mean, I get that the Galaxy are pretty much punting their season away, knowing that they're putting all their eggs in the Leeds Cup basket with the way how their season has gone to pear-shaped, but yeah, it still doesn't mean that they just does not show up in this game whatsoever. I mean, it's a combination of that and the fact that the Seattle freaking Sounders are just on a roll right now. The shots in this one, 24 shots committed, 8 that the Galaxy has, 8 shots on goal committed, 3 that the Galaxy had, 4 shots off target committed, 7 that Seattle had, 6 shots that was blocked committed, 4 that the Galaxy had, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that the Sounders has in this game. And if the Sounders can continue this incredible run of form, even into the Leeds Cup as well, I don't think there's anybody who's going to stop this team. I mean, right now, when you look at the remaining team in the Leeds Cup, I mean, yes, maybe Toluca might give Seattle something to fight for, and even Tigres as well, though Sounders fan will argue the fact that we already beat Tigres before in the Leeds Cup, if you remember a couple of years ago. Right now, I mean, this team is just absolute rolling right now, and I would not be surprised. They're right now the odds-on favorite to win the Leeds Cup once the Leeds Cup does resume next week. And there's also a chance where this could be a matchup we might see in the semifinal as well. I mean, if the Galaxy can win their matchup, uh, and the Sounders can win their matchup against the Liga MX opponent, then we'll have a rematch again. I think they have Sports Park, and I'm pretty sure the Galaxy will put more fight in this one because yeah, this was a game where, like I said, it just feels like they're putting all their focus in the Elites Cup, and when it comes to the rest of the league for them, they're just pretty much just in see you next season mode when it comes to their elite form recently. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of these 5 games. A bit of a lot review that is because again, a lot to talk about throughout this review. But as always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of these games. And tomorrow, again, I'm gonna try to do that 9 game review. You kind of saw throughout this video how my voice was kind of struggling throughout this video. Hopefully, my voice will get a little bit better tomorrow. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure to leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course see you guys next time.